slides. And I also love interactivity. So let's go. I need to be able to see my screen. Okay, there's everybody. So can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thumbs. Thumbs. So the first piece, and I'm also going to keep, if I look over here, I need to move you here. As we all know, looking right at our people is critical, and also I'm going to be trying to monitor the slides. And I'm imagining your voices because I want to hear them and they feed me. So the first piece that I want to say, which we all know every moment of our existence right now, that we live in unprecedented times and extraordinarily challenging times. And for many of us, the sort of first phase of leadership focus and crisis and figuring out how to get through the days is over. And we are now in phase 2 and looking at what does the long term look like? And how are we as leaders going to continue to show up to the day-to-day realities of our life, which are so unpredictable and for many of us chaotic and unknown, really moment to moment. So in my own life as a school leader, as a leadership coach, as someone who teaches about leadership and who works with school-based teams all over the country, what do I know? That our daily practices around how we take care of ourselves and how we nurture and listen to ourselves are more critical than ever. They are the rhythms of resilience. And as one of the folks that I spoke to last week said, we are all in the same storm, but we are by necessity, unfortunately, in different boats. And for many of us, we're in different boats every day. The conditions of the storm can change moment to moment, just as if we were on the water. And in particular, for those of us who are educators, my friend and colleague Jeffrey Canada said in a meeting last week, this is a break the glass moment for educators right now. Someone else said, this is our Apollo 13 moonshot. You know that scene where they have to make a filter, a round filter out of some square things, and there are only 6 things on the table? That can be what our leadership lives feel like sometimes right now. So Mark told me as we were preparing for this call that he asked, and only 6% of our SAM's leaders currently know how they are going to open in the fall. For many, many of the leaders and teams that I work with, they will not have final budgets until July or August. And the physical realities, the logistics and complexities of opening can really feel, as one of my coachees said, is just really unbelievable. And since none of us are virologists, we're also, that's also an additional challenge. And for me personally, and I think for many of us on this call, the sense of the extreme inequality of our circumstances has never been more evident. And I know, I'm aware for myself that I walk around feeling anger and grief and sadness about. Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor, and any number of folks that we work with every day, that we live with, who are our colleagues and peers, who are us. So what does that mean for us as leaders? How do we actually turn towards that and work with it? And so this past week, I read this fascinating new study of 5,000 individuals who were in quarantine in Wuhan. And what this study discovered was it was not the individuals who were most optimistic or who had the best prospects coming out of quarantine. It was those who were able to experience flow in their day-to-day life. And flow is that state where we are so absorbed in what we're doing that we lose track of time. We feel an enormous sense of vitality. We feel like we can do anything, and impossible things suddenly do seem possible. So this individual who was the author of this study posited that one of the reasons that we are all drawn so much right now to activities like puzzles, bread baking, and if we can, doing projects around the house, is because it can induce a sense of flow. And that in quarantine, parenting, leading, homeschooling while leading, managing, in the case of my family, several adult children who have come back to the house, and some of the challenges of that, it can feel like the work we are doing never stops. So I want to just invite you for a minute to think about, what are your flow activities? What helps you feel in flow? And if I were in the room with you, I would be asking you to shout those out. So in some of the work that we do, we ask people to write things on a piece of paper and hold them up. So maybe people could just drop in the chat what some of their flow activities are. And while you're doing that, really, how do we as leaders show up for all of this? And I love the sense of ebullience and yes, we can that people arrived at this call with. And I was speaking with a senior leadership team of a large district yesterday afternoon. And these are some of the things that people said as we went around the table and were just checking in. I try to stay hopeful, but we are really in phase 2 now, and a sense of needing to find some new strategies for staying with this project. We're on all the time. I have never felt so tired. It feels like there's no gravity, and not in a good way. So I want to ask us to engage first in a practice. All mindfulness-based practices start with the body and start with practice. And mindfulness, I think, as many of us know, is not something that you can read about and just know a lot about. You actually have to do it and live it. So if you feel comfortable, and I'm going to do this too, I have a standing desk, so I'm going to raise my desk. I'm going to ask you to stand up if you feel comfortable where you are. All right, I see Mark standing up. I see Audrey standing up. And I'm going to ask you to center over your hips and take a deep breath. A deep breath in and a deep breath out. And I'm going to ask you first to think about the length of you, your length, to stand up straight and feel your spine straight over your feet, over your hips and your shoulders, back and relaxed. And as you connect to the length of you, I want to suggest this is about you connecting to the dignity of you, the full height of you, and your capacity to feel your length also connects you to the dignity of others. A central leadership stance. And now I'm going to ask you to put out your arms like this amazing basketball player, Wendy Palmer, and feel the width of you, your capacity to hold so much, and also the boundaries of you. A central piece of powerful leadership is our sense of interconnection and also boundary, appropriate boundaries simultaneously. And the last piece is, I want you to feel your depth, the front of your body, all the way to the back of your body. Your core. All that you can hold in your core and in your depth. This is also connected to your ancestry. And all of us humans who have survived so much. And so I'm now going to ask you to sit down again, you long, wide, deep folks. I remember the first time I did this at Sam's when I was giving a keynote and I made everyone stand up and everyone groaned. Oh no! But I think it turned out all right. So that length and width and depth, a daily practice, a practice of readiness for a difficult conversation. One of you had just come from a challenging conversation before this call, getting ready for yet another Zoom call. To change our leadership stance using our bodies, a central practice. So in our work right now, and I've been teaching mindfulness to educators for a long time. So I want us to say I am realistic. And I also am a very busy human myself. So I am not suggesting anything here that I do not do every day. And these practices I have found to be critical to me in weathering the storms of the last several months. So for many of us who lead buildings, who are part of leadership teams in buildings, self-care is often the last thing on our list. It's the thing that is easiest for us to overlook. And I want to suggest to you that that is a calculation that it is critical to flip in these moments. That self-care has never been more important, that your capacity to be here now and also to see all the vast complexities that you are facing as you think about the summer and the fall depends on your commitment to taking care of yourself every day. So the first piece, and we call this 10 to Zen. This could be 10 minutes. It could be 100 seconds. But a commitment to each of these pieces makes a profound difference. So the first piece is just our stopping and pausing. And for many of the leaders that I work with, I ask them to actually schedule that into their phone, or their SAMS puts it on there into their schedule, is a stop and a pause. A deep breath, which we've already done. And then a check-in with you. A check-in with you. How are you? What's going on inside of you? What are you feeling in your body now? And then the conscious relaxation, slowing down. And one of my favorite practices is going outside, if one is, and we are all inside a lot right now, and just looking up at the sky, which broadens our vistas, gives us whole new visual perspectives and leadership visions. And then sitting down quietly and noticing that new perspectives may come to you. Feeling yourself recharging and returning to the day. So I want everyone, of course, to take themselves off mute so we can hear from you about how you do these. But just a few suggestions, which is beginning meetings with some of these practices, pausing for breath, taking a moment to get centered, length, depth, width. Actually, during a long Zoom call, in a moment where you can't look at an Excel spreadsheet for one more minute. Because again, our capacity to do the leadership work that we are being called to do right now, and to lead through the extraordinary demands of short term, and also potentially see into the future and reinvent education simultaneously, is going to rest inside our capacity to get centered with us.
Kirsten, I want to thank you. This has been absolutely wonderful. I know the group would like to thank you too. You can do the thumbs up if you'd like. You can do a comment in the chat log, and I am going to copy that. Or if you took yourself off mute, if you'd like to say something, go right ahead.
I want to hear from people.
It's so hard to have the conversation go back and forth at this point, Kirsten, but I want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here with us. And it is helpful to stop and think about the fact that mindfulness not only impacts you, but actually impacts the people you're leading in a much larger degree. I love your length and width. I didn't like the width so much, being deep.
We all have our issues with our width.
I know I do. Kirsten, if I could get you to take off your screen sharing now, if you'd end your screen sharing, that'd be great. Folks, I've gone ahead and shared the poll results with you if you'd like to see. You can see 58% are providing remote instruction still. We see that 10 people, 18%, this was their first SAM coffee break. For a restaurant, we can see that, wow, for some, they can't remember 5%. 3 months ago, 28%. Amount of time I get with my SAM coach, not enough, about 40%, just right, about 60%. So that's good to hear, but we'd sure like to give you what you'd like. So let your coach know if you'd like more time. They're willing to spend that with you. Just let them know, and there are a number of ways they can do that too. So just email your coach and they'd be happy to set up more time with you. This one I thought was kind of interesting. I've lost to COVID a relative, I'm sorry, 3 of us, a staff member, none of us online today, a student, oh gosh, that's hard, 4%, a friend of acquaintance or an acquaintance, 26%, and then 68% do not know someone taken by COVID. I was tested for COVID, no, 98%, yes, 2%. And no one was positive except me. I didn't do the poll, but I was tested positive, but I only had 3 days of misery and then 14 days of isolation. And now I'm giving plasma to the Red Cross, and I'm just feeling really good about the fact I was so lucky.
Mark, it's because you had an exceptional caretaker that you got well so fast.
Kirsten, I owe you something now, because that's absolutely right. Carol took great care of me. Thank you, Carol.
Just careful, careful, careful.
Planning on attending the 14th Annual National SAM Conference. 32% are planning in January, 14% in June, and 54% don't think they're going to be able to attend the conference coming up. I'm going to watch the NASA SpaceX launch. I'm looking forward to that. Looks like other people are too. I try to practice mindfulness activities. 33% every day, 39% some days, 21% rarely, 7% never. I will tell you that I'm not good at doing mindfulness, but I'm good at practicing it. I try it each day. And so I'm proud of myself on that, but I'm really lousy of it. I had a really hard time just focusing on one thing. And we teach students mindfulness at our school. 70% say yes. I think that's impressive. And 30% no, at least not in a formal sense. So interesting poll results. I'm glad we were able to do that today. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch to breakout rooms. We still have quite a few people still online. If you'd like to stay for breakout rooms, we'd love to have you do so, but you don't have to. It's up to you. If you stay for breakout rooms, the breakout room will have 3 other people. So there's 3 or 4 people, maybe 5 in each room. And you can chat about Kirsten's presentation today or anything else you'd like. The breakout room will be open for about 20 minutes. I will send you a chat warning when the breakout room is going to close. Kirsten, I want to thank you again. It was wonderful, and we see a lot of comments on the chat piece, and I will capture that and send it to you and everyone else in just a moment. We're going to go on to breakout rooms right now, if we could. I'm setting up the breakout rooms now. And looks like we are ready to do breakout rooms, and here we go. Thanks again, Kirsten.
I just want to say you're all incredible humans. Go. Amazing.
Kirsten, it's Cammie. So good to
Hey, hi.
so good to hear your voice. You're always balm for my spirit. So just really appreciate seeing you today, and thank you.